Good afternoon, Urja ji. Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of our project. The date today is the 14th of March 2020. Um, Seeing that you have established yourself as a leading Kathak dance choreographer, performer, teacher here in Grant, we're very keen to know a bit more about you and your work. Let's start from your very early life. Tell us a bit about your childhood, where were you born, and your upbringing.
Uh, First of all, thank you for inviting me. My birth was in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and it was ages back. I started learning dance from my guru Padma Bhushan Kumudini Lakya at the age of 6, and I was with her for majority of my life till I was 27, and then I got married and I came here, and that's how my association with dance has started. But according to my mom, my association of dance has started even before Kumi Ben, how we called her, is I used to go to Bharatanatyam classes when I was 4 years old, and I used to not enjoy apparently, and I used to kind of be very naughty in the class. But I used to keep on dancing at home, so she didn't know what to do, and she herself is a Bharatanatyam dancer, so for her to kind of put me into Bharatanatyam was a natural process. And then she kind of, someone suggested her that, why don't you put her in Kathak? Actually, there's a story behind it. My mom used to go and see a lot of performances, and she went to see a Sitara Devi performance, and she also has this habit of taking blessings from the great artists. So she took me as well, and she asked me to touch Sitara Devi's feet. This is all my mom saying. I have got no recollection of it. And she said that Kathak mein bada naam kamana. And she's like, but she's learning Bharatanatyam. And she said, she looked at me and she said, nahi, nahi, but she Kathak karegi. And that's when it actually like she thought that, okay, why don't I put her to Kathak instead of Bharatanatyam, because she's not enjoying Bharatanatyam. And at that time, Kumi Ben's class was in south and we used to live in north. So for her it was a long journey, and she came to Kumi Ben, and Kumi Ben was like, she's very young, so I don't know if we can take her, but bring her and let her sit in the class. And I used to go, she used to take me very religiously twice a week, and I used to never sit in the class. I would stand back and dance. And Kumi Ben saw that I'm very much keen and interested, and that's how she kind of said that, okay, you can start the class. So this is all the story which I have heard. But from what I recollect, I remember going to Kadamb, which is a school of dance where I have learned from Kumi Ben's school of dance. What I remember is I used to, after finishing my school, I used to bike to that class and wear our ghungroos and learn. And then I had to take a break for 4 years because I did my civil engineering as my degree, and that's when I actually realized that I really missed dance. And when I came back, I started learning dance. So I used to go in the morning to a dance class, and then because I had taken this 4 years break, Kumi Ben asked me to start pretty much from zero. And then every week she would see that, no, I do remember something, and she would kind of put me into the next class, and finally she said, okay, you can come on to this kind of intermediate level class. And I used to go there thrice a week in the morning, and then one day she, so I had, Pagrav Dance Company was a basically folk company back in India, and it was actually established by my mom in 83, 84. And then I started in 97. So I invited Kumi Ben to become the chief guest for the show, and after seeing the show, very next day she called me in the office and she said, so what do you do during the daytime? And I said, I'm working in this firm. She said, but you are here thrice a week or pretty much sometimes every day. And she was like, but I said to her that I have actually put a condition that you have to let me go for 2 hours. And she said, how much does that person pay you? And I said, it's not even worth saying. He said, okay, I'll pay you whatever he's paying, a little bit more. You have to come and teach here, will you? And I was like, of course I'll come and teach. So that's how my association with Kadam kind of grew even stronger.
But your family, you said your mom was a Bharatanatyam dancer. You come from a very creative family. She's a singer as well.
Yes.
So you had some music training as well?
Yes, I learned from, my classical training is from Krishnakant Parikh, and who was the student of Jasrajji, and I've learned classical from him, and I've learned light music, what we call Sugam Sangeet, from Rasbihari Desai, and of course from mom. So, but love of music and art form has come from my mom's side family, because my mom's mom used to also write and compose. My mom does it. My mom, as I said initially, was a Bharatanatyam dancer, and then she also did drama when she was in college. But then she thought that it is very demanding, like in terms of the time wise, and then she started pursuing music as well. So.
Want to talk a bit more about Kadam School and Kumudini Nakia, because
Sure.
To a lay person, Gujarati dance, they associate it with the folk dance,
Yes.
Garba and Ras
Yes.
and all the other folk, but she seems to have completely transformed, brought this classical art form into the state, and now with people like yourself and other senior students, you are continuing that legacy. So I'm very curious to know how she managed to bring this North Indian style of dance into the whole fabric of Gujarati, especially in Britain here. Now when you see a lot of Gujarati, the only time they do dance is during Navratri. After that they don't do. But even your students here today who we saw, many of them are Gujarati.
Yeah, majority of them are Gujaratis.
But to continue to learn this classical dance form, so definitely there is a huge legacy of Kumudini.
Yeah, sure.
And I want to know a little bit more about her.
Sure. So Kumiben has of course, great history of work, and if I kind of concise it in a small sentence, few words and stuff like that, Ahmedabad was very fortunate that Kumiben moved to Ahmedabad. And till then it was only Bharatanatyam taught by Mridalini Sarabhai. Kumiben brought in this whole change. She was married to Rajani Lakhia. So she was married to Rajani Lakhia, and he himself was a musician and also a lawyer. So when he came and they met in UK, and when they kind of went back, she got married to Rajani Bhai, we used to call him Dada, and so because Kumiben is actually Maharashtrian.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, yeah, but she is more Gujarati than any one of us. She's, as you very rightly said, that she's the one who brought Kathak in the fabric of Gujarat. And what is the great thing about Kumiben is that she just not only brought Kathak to Ahmedabad and Gujarat, but she also adapted a lot of Kathak stories and movements from what she was watching around. Not that she took folk, but there were lots of inspirations. I personally think, she's the right person to answer that, but I personally think that there is a lot of, I feel that she also kind of took from the environment, and also music was done by Atul Desai majority of time. Till Atul Bhai actually passed away, he was working with Kumiben. Atul Bhai being a Gujarati Nagar, he had this amazing sense of his culture and identities. So he also brought that aspect with the classical art form. So all of a sudden Gujarati started relating to it. And Bharatanatyam is a beautiful art form, but there is a barrier of language which they didn't have in Kathak. Like what used to happen at that point, I still remember that in Bharatanatyam they would Gujaratiized the lyrics of South Indian padam or kind of that sort of items, what we call. But because here was something which they could understand, relate very quickly, so I think that that brought a lot of change within how people started looking at Kathak, because initially Kathak was considered as the Nach of kind of not someone from a nice families, but Kumiben brought so much class in it that it started having a great impact on how people started looking at it, and it started looking at a statement of having something very unique. People would do it, not anyone can do that or carry it, as a matter of fact. And also people like Sandhya Desai and Aditi Mangal Das and Daksha Sheth, coming from a really good background, started learning from Kumiben. So people started and them doing really well in the and then Maulik Bai, Ishira Ben after that, and Vaishali Ben and Prashant, and all of them kind of being all Gujaratis. They all are Gujaratis. Like every name I actually said to you is Gujarati. So people kind of started relating it to it, that okay, if they can do it, even we can do it. So I think that's how I feel the change has come.
And it's a good thing that her students have all moved on away from Gujarat, and yourself
Yeah.
here, Prashant Bhai in America, Daksha Sheth in
Yeah.
America as well. So
Daksha Ben is in Kerala.
oh, sure.
She's in Kerala.
Oh, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So you know that
Yeah.
goes to show that it's spread all over
Yeah,
the
yeah,
world
absolutely.
as well. So let's talk a bit about your first experiences when you came to Britain. You said you came about 17 years ago. Or
Yeah, 2003.
yeah. And did you face any challenges initially, setting yourself up as a dance teacher or the dance scene in Britain at that time?
So it's very interesting because Kumiben has got a very different way of guiding people. She would hardly spoon feed you. Not hardly, she would not spoon feed you. So she had given me 3 numbers when I came here. One was Academy of Meera Kaushik, the other one was Akram Khan, and the third one was Abhay from Bhavan. And I spoke to all 3 of them, and I instantly realized that whatever I have achieved back in India is not going to count over here. So I have to start from zero. So I was very much clear in that mind. So I kind of started approaching that from day one. So in that way, there was challenges, but I kind of didn't think as challenges because I think I had trained my mind by that time. I was also very lucky that because of the training with Kadam, Jagdeep Shah, who was at that time chair of Shishukunj, and I was introduced by Krishna Joshi, who was a family friend of ours, and she introduced me to him, and he, knowing that I was coming from Kadam because he knew Kadam, because he's very good friends with Maulik Bhai and all of them. So he knew that I'm coming from Kadam, so even without having any doubts, he started giving me, asked me to start teaching in Shishukunj. So I started my first teaching in Shishukunj in 2003, September. At the same time, I started teaching in Milton Keynes, where that's where I actually live. So it's funny that even though I live in Milton Keynes, my majority of my student base is here in north of London. It's because I've always taught here. And I think 80% of my parents don't know that I actually don't physically live here, because it's just, every time I'm just here, all the time I'm here, and now I have this space which is also here. So it has just happened that I'm in this part of space. But I started teaching here. I had to work very hard to see. Also, there is a myth that Gujaratis are not committed when it comes to classical art. So I had to really break that. Like, I had to really tell them that you're absolutely wrong, because they always think that South Indians, Bengalis, these are the only two people who will work very hard when it comes to classical art form. Yeah, so that was a tough one. And also because my mom is a light vocalist. That also, like, people, I don't know why, just because they know that someone is, like, she's 100 times more rooted into classical, just because she's not singing classical or performing classical doesn't mean that she doesn't have the knowledge or anything. So that perception which people have is very difficult for us to kind of break, and that was the toughest part I thought I have. And also it is like, I never asked Komiben for favors. So I never actually said that, can you introduce me to so and so, and neither did she. I did have this one conversation with her a couple of times back, and I asked her that, she just, out of the blue, she was actually in my house, and out of the blue, she said, I know that I have not pushed you enough, or pushed you the way I have pushed others to get the work. Sorry, the words was, I'm aware that I have not supported you the way I have supported others, but I know you are a fighter and you will do it. So I did kind of turn back and said, Kumiben, even fighters need help. But I think she acknowledges it, that yeah, I've reached it, like, whatever I'm doing it in my way. And it's not that she's not giving me blessing. Her blessings are always there, and she's very critical about what I'm doing and what I need to do and how I need to progress. But she has not said to anyone that, look at my student, she's my student, you need to give her work. She has never done that. And I'm actually, in a way, thankful for that. And that was very tough, because I think people were finding it difficult that even though she's Komiben's student, why is Komiben not promoting her or talking about her? So it was just, yeah, it was a little bit tough in that way, because I had to say that it's not that she doesn't believe in my work, because I was teaching there. I was part of the performing group. So it's not that she doesn't like what I do. But I think everyone has to get things in their own time and pace. So,
do you regret, or you said you studied as a civil engineer, so all that studies have gone out of the window?
So I always tell this to my students all the time, that the thing is, my mom always told me that you are an art person and that's what you should do. But I always wanted to become a doctor. Don't know, I know why, because my father is a doctor, so I thought, and I really enjoyed it. It was not that I did. And the circumstances happened in a way, which is like a long story, that I didn't end up taking up medicine. For some or the other reasons, it just kind of got it blocked for some reason. And in that process, Kumiben asked me twice to join her company at that age, and I declined it. And that is something which I really regret, because by that time, I was neither there, neither here. And then I was like, okay, I need to study something. I would have happily, like, both of my parents would have happily let me to dance forever without asking me. Like, mom used to say that literature is your strong point, you enjoy literature, why don't you just do arts and this and continue dance? And I was like, no mommy, you know what, I really want to become doctor. And it was like very other kind of conversation, very unlike any Indian family. And she was like, okay, it's your wish. And it just happened that after studying civil engineering, despite working in a civil engineering firm, interior designing firm, I was always drawn back to this. And there was one point where when I was working in the company. So at one point in my life, I was doing everything. So I was in the company where I was working as a civil engineer. I was performing, I was teaching in Kadam, and I was also teaching folk in a school. So I used to leave house at 7 o'clock in the morning and come home at 12 o'clock. It continued for good 4-5 months, and then my dad said that it's enough, he put the foot down. He said, this cannot work like that, you are going to spoil your health. So you have to make a decision what you want to do. So I said, okay, I'm going to leave teaching folk. And he said, excuse me, you have to decide between dance and this. And I said, okay. Then I had a really good thought about what I want to do. I said, okay, I'm going to do dance. And the day I was leaving my job, the person was offering me partnership. And I was like, oh God, it's not real. And I said, you know what, I'm definitely not going to go there because my heart is saying that I should do dance. So I ended up going into dance. But what I regret most is not that I didn't study civil engineering, because that is helping me now in my creation. So I don't think I regret anything what I have done, but I do regret that what would have happened if I would have selected the time when Kumiben said that why don't you come with us to Russia or USA. I would have said yes to that. What would have happened at that point? And I said no at that point, which means my trajectory was different. That also might be the case that she didn't maybe push me or like kind of put me forward, because she might have thought that, okay, she's not going to pull back any moment. That might be possible. Now, because I'm a teacher, I'm thinking in that sense. So that might be a possibility. So I'm not actually blaming her at all. I'm just trying to evaluate but also at the same time, if I had not had that struggle, I would have not been the person I am. So I think it's both ways.
Yes.
So I'm kind of regretting and I'm not regretting. So I don't know how I can frame it in.
At the end of the day, it's worked out for the best for you.
Yes, because I would not like to be anyone who was at that point in my life and were at the top of their games. I would have not want to be like them as a human being, I'm saying. Maybe dance-wise, yes, I wanted to be. But as a human being, I don't think I wanted to be like them. So I think it has worked out best for me.
Good. You talked about the creative process. Now, obviously, Kumiben has had a huge impact on your life. And what you create now, do you create your own style, or you take some things from her teachings, and what influences you to become a choreographer?
So for me, I'm someone who gets feed on to the bodies which are in front of me. This is one thing which I have learned from Kumiben, and not just one thing, but this is one of the things which I really love about her. That despite she has always created ensemble work, we all have done something very different in our lives. Like Aditi Ben is completely different, Daksha Ben is very different, Prashant is very different, and Vaishali Ben is different, Maulik Bhai is different, I am very different. So we all are very different as a personality, and I think what is great about her choreography is she lets that individual personality comes through, and then she will only give that kind of work probably. And I'm trying to listen to that, what I have observed, but I'm also very, very heavily influenced by Gujarati poetry, Gujarati culture, what I have learned as a music, and that is something. And every time I have an idea, the first person of contact for me is actually my mom. So that is where my conversation starts. That okay, this is the idea, and then we'll start exchanging notes. And of course, I'm watching so many great things over here, a lot of contemporary work, a lot of great classical work I'm watching. So I'm going to get influenced by it. So I don't think that my work is similar to Kamiben, but I don't think that I don't have any influence of her. I have a complete influence of her, but I think I'm just trying to see things a little bit differently.
Different influences.
Yeah.
And you talked about your interest in poetry, and
Yeah.
that is what got you to do this
Yeah.
new project,
Yes.
Startup Practice.
Yes.
So let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah.
How did that whole project come about, and the story behind it?
Yeah. So me and my creative producer Nina we were sitting and like brainstorming that what should be the next production and this and that, and I said to her, so we started talking about poetries somehow, and I said, there is a beautiful poetry in Gujarati by Avinash Vyas, and it is about different kites, and he has actually symbolized those kites with human nature and how you can find those in human nature, and anyone who fly kite in India, in Gujarat especially, will relate to every little thing I'm saying. So, of course, Nina Head, she's an Irish, half Irish and half English. So I was explaining her that, and she was like extremely fascinated. And she said it will be a great work. And I was like, I personally really like it, but I like it because I'm a Gujarati. So I don't know if others are going to like it. And she said, I'm sure they all will love it. So I said, okay, let's do an R&D of this. So we started with like a small R&D, and we had 4 dancers and 2 musicians. I said, okay, I would like to work with live music, and because if you're talking about Festival of Kites, you see a lot of people, and the best way to have a lot of people is to have musicians on board. And then we started working about how I can use them, and I was like, so I was working with all these people where, funny enough, at that point, out of 4 dancers, 2 were Gujaratis and 2 were not. And musician, 1 was Gujarati and 1 was not. So half Gujarati. And apart from me and that other musician, no one is born and brought up in India. They are all born and brought up here. So they know about Festival of Kites, but they don't know anything about it. So I started showing them a lot of videos and started explaining a lot of things. And they could completely understand where I was coming from. That was something very unique for me, to know that, oh, they are getting what I'm saying. So it is not actually just relating to Gujarati culture. And that also kind of made me do a little bit of more research about kites. And so because there is Festival of Kites, it's all over the world, but everyone has got different association with it. And so I kind of started exploring that, and now we are in a full creation process. So after that we did a second R&D with a full cast, which is like 4 dancers, 4 musicians, set, lighting, dramaturg, and now we are in the creation process. So we have got a small tour coming up in in April and May. We have, so first show is on 23rd of April in Quarter House, and then we are in Milton Keynes on 2nd of May, and we have got 2 dates in Sadler's Wells. So Sadler's Wells came on board as a partner, which was a great thing for us, not only as a like they just did not book us. They came in, like, invested in us. So that was a big thing for me personally as my career, and also from someone coming from, like, I personally don't like Festival of Kites, which is very weird, and I'm making this whole show on it. But I don't like it because I don't like the competitiveness of that, and like the the strings which you use are actually coated with glass pigments, and you get hurt while you're flying kite. So I don't understand, why do someone wants to fly high in order to get hurt. But I think this is all kind of coming back to what I was saying earlier, that I'm glad I went through this tough phase, because I would not want to be in that competitive environment, to be on top, where I'm actually just being slowly getting there. I don't mind being slow and get there. Yeah, so I think I'm very peaceful in where I am, actually, in my life and career, and God has been extremely kind to me and all of those things. So I don't, and maybe that is the reason I don't like this Festival of Kites, that I've always been very happy where I am. Like, this competitiveness that I need to go further was never. I am competitive, but I'm competitive with myself more than outer world. So I think that is the reason I didn't, like, I could not associate with it. And I thought that there are so many people, like, in my family itself, I would see that. So this work is not autobiographical, it is very observant of what I'm watching in the society. And if you take kites away and if you bring that into a corporate world, it's the same thing. It's how people are actually cutting each other. It's a cutthroat, what we always call cutthroat competition, how to be further, how to be higher. And no matter, I'm symbolizing it with the kite, the success, but the success can be anything. So it's amazing to watch that, and I'm just trying to bring that. And I think that is the relatability, that despite of not being from a Gujarati culture or India or anything, people can just relate to that subject, and that is something amazing. And the great thing is, this entire thing is said in that poetry, actually. But people who know Gujarati will understand more about that poetry, because he has used word in the in the poetry. It says that Patangano parivar, jagatma patangano parivar. So it's, we all are so different in this world, that each one has got role to play. Koi lal vadali piro, koi shwet kesari neero. So like, even the colors of the skin is different. So likewise, color of kites are different. Koi sthir, koi asthir, which means some is very balanced, some are very balanced, and some goes out of balance. So it's a personality of human being. Ne koi hatilo, someone is very adamant, stubborn. Then it says, koi ne khechi kape. Someone will pull someone down with no courtesy. Koi kheche, koi na tape. So someone will take advantage of someone else's situation. So it is so, like, Avinash Vyas, people who know Gujarati and Gujarati poetry will know that he is such a prominent name. And it is such a beautiful poetry, talking about such complex personalities we observe in life, and he's just related it with the kites. So, and then again, I'm trying to put this layer of the social economical class, where I also feel that some are privileged to fly a kite from terrace, and some are underprivileged to fly a kite from ground. So people who are flying from terrace will fly higher than this one in the same amount of time. I heard like a very great interview about this so-called entire privilege thing, about people getting born in a privileged family are getting more chances. And a struggling actor said that our privilege starts where your privileges actually end. You have become successful, that's where our privilege starts. So it's amazing that it is there in the society. Forget about kites, but it's there in the society. So that is something I've tried to achieve in this production.
So it's a very good way of making people aware of not only dance form but the Gujarati literature, the
Absolutely.
and all the socio-economic. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a wonderful concept. I
yeah.
absolutely
Thank you.
loved it, and I'm really looking forward
And
to.
Gujarati literature is actually considered the greatest literature after Urdu.
The fact that a place like Sadler's Wells got on board with your work, that's a huge achievement
Yeah,
for any dance teacher. And I'm sure it will take you to the next level of your in your career,
thank you.
definitely. So we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
I think you got involved with the BBC Young Dancers
Yes,
competition as well. Now that again is another achievement. So tell us a bit about it.
sure. So this was the first ever BBC Young Dancer competition, and Vidya Patel had won the South Asian dance category, and then I was approached to choreograph for her as a guest choreographer. So the final choreography she did was by me, and it was very heavily appreciated. I'm so happy, and Vidya did a great job for that. The next BBC happened. My student had taken part in it, Shyam Dattani, and he won the BBC South Asian dance category. So that is again a different way of getting involved with it. And last time it happened, I was mentoring the South Asian dancers, Kathak strand, to kind of see how they can bring the best out of their pieces when they are performing in their finals. So yeah, it has been a great experience working with them. It's amazing to see a great enthusiasm in the young dancers. There's a huge platform for South Indian classical dance form to be on a main stage and kind of bringing so much awareness for the common public. So no longer people are just associating Indian, especially Kathak, I would say, with Bollywood songs. They know that it has got much more history to it, and than that, so which is great.
Can I just follow up? Because when I was filming before, I was interested in the music you are. How
Yeah.
important is the music supporting your dance?
Yeah, as because I have learned music, I am extremely musically inclined. So for me, that plays a huge part in a production, or in any work, or even if I'm creating. So I've never. That is again something I think instilled by Kumiben is never work with a low standard work. So this is something which has stayed with me, and like I would always like to work with good quality music. So I work a lot with Alap Desai and Ashit Desai. First Ashit Bhai and then Alap. They are based in Mumbai, and they are again Gujarati Nagars. Same as they are actually family friends of ours, and maybe a distant relative as well. I'm not too sure about that, but it's like a family for us, and I've been working with them for a really long time. And now again, there are such great musicians over here that I'm fortunate to have these people in my production, people whom I'm working with. But I do incline to work with really good quality music rather than, and even if I'm working with, even say suppose if I'm creating a exam piece for my students, I will never ever sit in the house do the recording. I'll always go to professional level, even if it costs me. I will not care. I must have put so much money from my pocket for these kind of things, but I would do it because if I don't enjoy listening to this, how are kids going to enjoy and dance to it? they also have to enjoy. So that plays a huge part for me, really a huge part for me.
Can you describe what you say with the quality music? What does it mean?
So I like to work with a composer who has got a great understanding of dance. With Ashit Bhai, he has worked with great masters like Durga Lal ji, Birju Maharaj ji, and he has worked with Pratima Bedi. So he's got a great understanding of, he has worked with Ravi Shankar ji. So he has got a great understanding of dance and how dance and music goes together. So it is very easy to work with him. With Alap, he is a trained tabla player. He has learned from Appaji. So again, he is bringing a different flavor from what Ashit Bhai has been bringing. So it is similar, but it is different because he is an artist of a new generation. So he's going to think differently. But what I also like is, and this is a constant fight with all my music directors, because today is a world of having heavy music, like we need to have fill up every little section, even breathing with the music. And I always tell them, I want 3 musicians, I want 4 musicians, and they're like, you are a very poor producer when it comes to music. And I tell them, it's not because of poor, it is because the rawness of the sound comes out only when there is a minimum. And Alap, if I talk about Alap, he's such a great composer. He is so talented, and he's so, his music is so good. Why to get it dilute with over instrumentalization? So I'm sure he will disagree to me, because he does, but I like the rawness of the music more than anything. But as I said, the understanding of how to use music in dance is very important for me. Like for Kattam Katti, I don't have a composer. The musicians are themselves creating music, and a lot of times even they feel that, oh, we are stuck. Even sometimes I feel that we are stuck. Oh God, I should have had a composer here. But then no, they are the one who are in the room with us. So sometimes they are responding. Sometimes I tell them, okay, you go in that room and create something, whatever. Okay, you are doing in this rag. Why don't you change the rag? Okay, why don't you do this there? Why don't you do that? So then I also kind of do arrangement. Okay, why don't you play this section and you play this section? Okay, when he's playing, why don't you do this in a chords? Because I know music, I can maybe suggest it. Like when I created a solo evening of work for Shyam, there were 3 pieces which was composed by Alap, but Alap was not here. So I told Alap that just give me the raw version of it, just give me the what we call malkhu, the structure of it, and then I'll do rest. And he created the structure for me, and then I said, okay, I want flute here, I want mridangam here, I want this, and I kind of bifurcated it. And I was very happy with myself that, and again that goes to the training of learning music or listening. Like we always have music on in our house over here and in India. Like that's all I know. Music is always there. Even when I used to study, I used to have music on. So it's constantly there in the background. So the more you listen, and I'm fortunate that a person whom I've married to is also listening to a huge range of music. Forget about Gujarati. He listens to jazz, he listens to rock. So I am now exposed to a different world altogether. Not necessarily I enjoy that all the time, but he is like, for a longest period of time, Nehal, my husband, was always there to do sound check for me. So it is something which is a part of me. So I think that has always been a very huge influence in what I am doing.
Just to follow up for this. You mentioned the role of live music. Is live music important for your performance?
Yes. I think as a classical dancer, anyone would say that live music is extremely important. The only reason we don't do live music is the cost of it. It's super, super, super costly. And the thing is that with recorded, like I can give them the music and they can practice, or I can practice. I can keep on going again, and when I'm walking, I can listen. But I can't do that. I have to use my brains. I have to be alert. So there are a lot of you're on edge, which actually makes it fantastic and beautiful. But this is, I think what yeah, I think it's amazing to have a live music, and we are very fortunate. And now, especially, there are beautiful musicians now as this current life in UK.
Another question would be, you mentioned briefly the influence of Bollywood on the music. Can you comment on that? I observe it with dancers.
No. Yeah, I think it is to appeal the masses, so they make it much more like peppy, and like even though there is one violin string going on, they want to project it as 1,000 ones. Like A.R. Rahman, according to me, is a fantastic composer, but he ruins it with over instrumentization. And that's what I feel should be avoided in classical dance, because that rawness, and that is something is much more influenced actually, funny enough, is influenced by what I'm watching here. Like I would not even dream of having a section which is in complete silence, but all of a sudden I'm enjoying that. Because I think in India, I think it works in India in terms of having too much music, because there is so much going on that you need to shout to project what you want to do. So I think they need to have that. And here it's almost like my mom says that, my God, you have got all the colors of browns and blacks and things in your life. You don't have any color in your life. But maybe because it is so dull outside, you don't want to wear bright orange and go. Like, it is very unlike to do that. So I think that's what it is. You are just responding to the environment you are. And yeah.
I think I know some of the young musicians you work, the British one, and do you find their whole outlook to music is different from the musicians you work in India?
No. No. They are, in terms of how musicians are perceived and behaved, they are very similar. Musicians are musicians. But I'm very fortunate that the people whom I'm working with are very open. So they are, but I think that is happening overall, all over the world, that they are becoming much and much more open to accept and the changes and to do it a little bit differently, because even they want to do things differently. So in that way, I say, yeah, it might be different, because they don't need to fit, all of a sudden they don't need to fit in a criteria. But till they are pulled and brought into this environment, they are same as back in India. But because some of them have got the opportunity that they have been pulled out of that situation and asked that, okay, you can also sing while you are in sitting position or sleeping position, they are accepting it. But I think if I would have asked them to do it in my first R&D, they would have not done it. I think it's like that, because they are seeing that, okay, there is a possibility to stretch, there is a possibility to push. They are trying, they are doing it likewise.
I want to talk a bit about your career path as a dance teacher, because it seems like your focus is very much on individual students and you mold them according to their abilities and whatever. So I'm sure you have a variety of students, some who would want to pursue a
Yeah.
professional career, some who might be coming to you as a hobby. So how do you bring the best out of a student?
Yeah, so for me, every time anyone comes to my class, even the youngest one, I always ask them that why are you here? Please don't be here if your parents are pushing you. I'll speak to them. Please don't come. I beg you. So I do kind of ask them what they want to achieve out of the classes, and I just kind of respond to it. Signpost them wherever possible. Wherever there is an opportunity, I kind of give them, share my experiences with them. I've got few students who were not even thinking of taking dance seriously and have started taking up as a career. So more and more students are kind of doing that. So I feel very happy about it. And I think that is because they are seeing a future in it. I think as a teacher, we have to show them a path. And I think that is something which is extremely lacking in this country, is the infrastructure for next generation of dancers. And I am really interested and passionate about kind of showing that pathway to them, that okay, if I do this, I can do that. If I want to become teacher, I need to do da 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 da. If I want to become a performer, I need to do da 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 da. If I want to become a choreographer, I need to do this. So it is just kind of giving them this opportunities to understand and just be very open with them. I am extremely aware of not doing things which I have not liked in past, either observing people doing it, teachers doing it to others, or kind of hearing the stories of it. So I'm very much aware of that, and I make sure that I don't do that. I try to be extremely fair, and I'm very, very, very lucky that the classes I have, all classes, not just senior, but especially senior classes, because when I say senior, not in the age, but their experience, I'm talking performing group, I mean, that they are competitive, but there is no cutthroat competition. It's like, let's go together. Like, you don't know it, okay, I'll also explain you. And that is it's a very healthy competition, and I'm very happy about that. And I think that is also mainly because I make a very conscious effort of not favoring anyone, and kind of really giving them that individual attention they need. Like, they all can call me at any point of time. They speak to me, not just about their dance, they speak to me about their lives. So I'm almost like I go out clubbing with them. So I'm just like their elder sister. Like, the first time I actually went to club with these people ever in my life, actually, not with just these people, ever in my life, was with these people, just like 6-7 months back. And they were shocked that I've never been to clubs. So they were like, okay, you have to come with me. So it's like that. So that is a relationship I have with them. So which is very great.
Which we observed, we were talking about it when we went out for tea. We were saying that she seems to have a good rapport with her students who treat her as equal.
Yeah.
And that came through straight away in that 5 minute of our observation of your class. So that was very good. But I just want to ask you one question. Aspiring young choreographers.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them if they want to go against the grain? There's sort of pressure or they themselves might want to do a choreography about a dance differently than what is accepted out in the dance fraternity. Would you encourage them to do what their gut feelings are?
Of course. You should always do what your heart says. You should always do what you think is the right way of doing it. And one thing which Kumiben told me, which is fantastic, is she said that you are never going to create a work which everyone will like it. So stop making work which others like. Make work which you like. Because if you create work which you like, you will have a conviction about it. And so, like, this is the answer to the question. She said, why did you select this topic, and I said, because I thought people might like it, and this is the answer she gave it to me. So I said, don't do that because people will like it. And then I said, no, it's not because people will like it, because I also like this, and then I thought, but then I also thought that people will, and she was like, you have to stop yourself over there. So I think this is the same advice which I tell them, that if you believe completely in a different way of presenting, like I have a student who is very keen to create work with hip hop and Kathak, and she's like, what should I do? I said, just create. Why are you waiting? What are you waiting for? One thing which I have always done, and which I always tell these people, is don't wait for opportunities to come to you. You have to create your own opportunities. There is no way people will say that, okay, why don't you take, because say suppose if, and this is again I think I'm understanding Kumiben more now than I used to understand her before, because if I say to X, Y and Z that, why don't you take this girl, I'm instantly favoring, and that is instantly creating a competition in the class and not a great environment. Because I don't do that, it doesn't have that. So I have always tried to be very fair with everyone, and in terms of creation, I always say that just listen. If you want to do it, do it. Don't worry about where are you going to perform, just do it. Make a video, you watch, your friends will watch, something will come up, and look out for work. Just don't sit there. If you think that work will come, it is not going to happen. You have to go to work.
Do you find in modern day Britain there is a lot of pressure for Indian dancers to contemporize? When I talk to funders, I always find that they like a contemporary dance more than the traditional forms. Or is there some pressure? Have you felt that?
Yes, there is a pressure. There is a pressure. But what is contemporary? The problem is not that they are asking for contemporary. The problem is what they call is contemporary. Like the work which I do, classical dancers don't think that it's a classical work, and contemporary dancers don't think it's a contemporary work. So what is it that? So I call it neoclassical. But it is contemporary in the context of what I have learned. So contemporary is always changing. But the problem is not them asking to become contemporary. And it is going to be like younger generation than me are going to create a contemporary work which I will not create, which I will not even relate to.
Like your example, you said about hip hop.
Yeah, but to say that what I am creating is contemporary and what you are creating is not contemporary is wrong. And I think that's where the problem lies. The problem doesn't lie where expecting people to do something new. Of course you should do something new. Why you need to do the same thing? Like even when I teach people Panihari ki gat, like fetching water from the river, who does it in India anymore? No one. They all switch on the taps. There is no relatability. But you have to teach them, because you need to teach them the boundaries. Then you ask them to break the boundaries. But you need to teach them the boundaries. So you teach them all of that. So I'm not against contemporary. I'm against saying that what XYZ is doing, that is the only contemporary way of doing it. Or using a contemporary vocabulary which is like a known contemporary vocabulary. That is the only way of presenting contemporary work. That is what I don't agree to.
Do you feel it has diluted the traditional art form?
But what is traditional? Because traditional is changing. What Kumiben taught us was not how she was taught. What they are dancing is not what their older generation has done. Like if I see old videos, the way they were dressing then and the way they were dressing even at the time before Kumiben is different. So what is tradition? Tradition is very relative. Contemporary is very relative. So to expect to, yes, as I said, you need to know the grammar, what I always call, this is a grammar of dance. Any classical art form will have grammar. It will have A, B, C, D. It will have do's and don'ts. So you do that, you follow that, and then you make your own sentences. When you start making your own sentences, it's going to be contemporary because you are present, you are not dead, or you are not from past. So it is going to be, and for me, tradition is what Kumiben has taught. For Kumiben, tradition is what her teachers have taught. I have not experienced the tradition which Kumiben has learned. So how can I say that that is my tradition? My tradition is what Kumiben has taught me. So I think it's very relative. So I don't think the tradition is losing or diluting, but people are taking shortcuts, but that is happening everywhere. Like people want to get like quick, instant food, instant this, instant that. Like Kumiben said, there is a new gharana called YouTube gharana. Like new school of art form, where they are just learning everything from YouTube. And that's happening. But that's how the world is changing. So you can't control that, and it is going to change. That's when I have a problem, little bit of problem, when students come to me and they say, oh, why can't I've been learning for 4 years, why can't I dance? I was not even performing till I was 10, 15 years in the dance form. So I think that's what is little bit frustrating, but again, that is something which I can't do anything about, because that's how the new generation or new life is.
What is your aspiration for Kathak scene in Britain? How would you like it to develop?
I really, really, really want a repertoire company in Kathak. I really want an infrastructure for person to know where they want to be. Not everyone wants to be choreographer. Like Kathak is a solo art form, and Kumiben recognized that not everyone can become solo artist or doesn't want to become a solo artist. So she introduced choreography. I think not everyone wants to become a choreographer. At the moment, what is happening in UK is everyone is forced to become a choreographer because that's the only way they can earn, because they need to create. But choreography is not something you can teach the skills, but you can not have that inborn think about the choreography. You need to, there has to be a particular kind of, like people have to be observant and all those kind of things to become a really good choreographer, I'm saying. So if people just wants to become a performer, where do they go? Like 80% of teachers just work with their students when they are creating work. I have been often asked that why do I not just take always my students, and I always say I will first give chance to people who are full-time dancers and then open it up to my students. And if they are available, I'm not going to give them chance. Don't get me wrong, there are opportunities where purely my group goes and perform, and even they are paid. So I make sure that everyone is paid. I have performed for like pretty much negligible amount of money, and I feel very sorry anytime I have to request anyone. So I always, every time I offer a work which is unpaid, I always say, see this is not paid, only do it if you want to do it. But they know that because I pay when I have pay, and if I have a good pay, I could pay them good. I don't take anything out of it actually. So they don't mind doing it for free a lot of times. So I think a lot of teachers also maybe don't like that I do this, because then it puts them into a complicated issue. And I'm no one to judge that, and I don't want to judge that. But I feel that it is my responsibility as a teacher to show a path to a student if they want to. Because if, say for example, I say to your daughter that, oh, you have got a great future in dance, you should take up dance. And she's like, yes. But as a parent, you come and say, but she is going to earn 40,000 pounds a year. Is she going to, how much is she going to earn in dance? And I would say, no, she will not earn. I will be honest. So first thing when they say that I want to take up as a career, first thing I say is learn to live in minimum and be happy. Then art is for you. Don't think that things are going to come very easily. So you need to be working super hard. Like I was telling just today morning, that my days have been extremely long because I'm doing rehearsal whole day here. By the time I go there, fortunately one of the students is covering my class, but heart of teacher does not just say that, so I just go and peep in and I said, okay, you're doing well. Okay, you know what, you should do this. Go inside the kitchen, do the cooking, because I'm a mother. So do that. Between while it's cooking, I just go and peep in again in the studio. What is happening? I've got a teacher covering my class. I don't need to be there, but I'm still there. I just can't help it. Come back, feed them. After everyone has gone to sleep at 10 o'clock, I start doing my admin. I sleep at 1 o'clock. Next day morning, 6 o'clock, I'm up. Because I have a child who needs to go to school, I need to feed them. So it is around the clock and it doesn't end. It doesn't end Monday to Friday. So are you happy with that life? Are you going to be happy with that? Then you do it. Because I genuinely believe that you should only work, if it is dance or art or a job, that when you get up in the morning, you don't think, oh ma, I have to get up and do this. You should not feel that. The moment you do that, you should stop that. And I'm very clear about it that I will do that. The moment I will feel that, oh, I can't do this, I'll stop. Because I don't want to bore people who are investing their time and money coming to me. It's not right. I am feeling I'm responsible for them. They are coming there for some service. Even if they're going for a performance, I have to be well prepared to do a performance. I just can't go and land up on stage and do any shabby performance. So I think that is one thing which I always say, and I hope that I'm able to provide that framework, and I can see it slowly happening. So I'm really happy. Like I always wanted to have a space where I can tell my students to come and practice if they've got a performance. And by God's grace, I've got this space. And it's amazing to have it. These people, like before my class finishes at 5, we have to finish at 10 to 5 to leave at 5. I was actually paying half an hour more so that we can finish at 5 and they can take half an hour to get out. Here, instead of 5, it is even happening 5:30. There is no one to stop us, which is great. I had that privilege when I was learning. Like I remember every time I wanted to practice, I was just given the keys and she was saying, just go and practice. Unfortunately, I can't do so much because there are different pressures about that. So I'm not able to give them so much, but like wherever possible, I give them free workshops. Wherever possible, I give them at a super reduced rates, this space. And this space, I hire it out to other teachers, but I give 5% discount to South Asian artists because I want to create this as a hub of South Asian dance. So I'm able to provide that is a very happy place to be in. And I just hope that I'm able to even further provide, like have this repertoire company which I'm saying, where all dancers are full-time paid dancers. Despite them having a performance, not having a performance, they are here morning to evening practicing like a 9 to 5 job and going home.
Means you're also encouraging them.
Yeah.
To stay to the dance.
Yes, and it will encourage parents to see that there is a future in dance. Otherwise, like, how can I convince a parent that, you know what, your child is going to star, but let her do dance because she's exceptional. I can't do that. But if that person is doing it, it's my responsibility as a teacher to give that platform to her. So every time I have done a performance, always professional dancers have got paid little bit more than the non-professional dancers. So they feel that importance. They are doing nothing different. It is maybe unfair to non-professional dancers, but actually that has made couple of non-professional dancers to think that, you know what, I might actually think about that and they take time of work. If they've taken time of work and come in rehearsals, I'll pay them equal. But if you're expecting that, okay, we can only have rehearsals in the evening, then sorry. You need to have, it's a full-time commitment, and you cannot expect to, like when you go to a lawyer, if they say, oh, I'm working part-time, I will only do your deed at 10 o'clock at night, that's the only time available, I'll call you, you will say, no, I have a life, I'm not going to do it. You are a lawyer, you better do that during 9 to 5 job. Why are you doing it at 10 o'clock? So then that becomes a motivation.
So that's a change which we have seen, as we were talking earlier, that Gujaratis don't see dance as a worthy career, they are more into business and all of that, but now these days we are seeing a lot of them coming into this. How do you
is there a difference nowadays? Is it changing, this attitude?
No.
A little bit?
It's not Gujaratis, it's everywhere. So I will not pinpoint to Gujaratis changing their attitude. I think that's the perception that Gujaratis are more into earning money is wrong. That's what I'm saying. But the perception that you can earn more out of dance, I would say it is changing 1% or maybe 0.1%. It's happening, but it is happening at a very slow rate. But I would not just put it into the framework of Gujaratis. I think it's an Indian community by fault. But as a matter of fact, saying that, I was the other day having a conversation with some contemporary student, and she was saying that even for her to convince her parents to take up dance full time, she had to struggle. Because the problem with contemporary is there are so many. So there is a lot of people. So if you're not good enough, then you're thrown away. So it's like that.
Also, funding and the funding bodies out there, I don't know how much support South Asian arts gets compared to what a ballet company would get. It's very minimal.
Yeah.
So
if you compare it with ballet,
yes,
no.
Yes. So
And the problem is, and the irony, actually, not problem, the irony is that the training required for both the art forms, ballet and any Indian classical art form, is same. And still, because there is no infrastructure. People are still looking at it as a community event rather than a professional event.
So basically, that's what you see your aspiration for Kathak in Brisbane.
Yes.
To build that.
To change that, and it's happening. As I said, it's happening. It is happening like 1% sort of thing, but.
Can you articulate this a little bit? How to get Kathak in the mainstream? Obviously, your aim. How to get it out?
I think, as I said, you need an infrastructure. You need to have a conservatoire, which is not there in Kathak. Gurus are very protective about their students, and rightly so, because our art form is a Guru Shishya art form. So I understand that they are very protective about them. But I think there has to be a school where you are teaching them how to enter in the world of dance. You cannot expect students to just go there and do things by themselves. Like, how can you expect an 18-year-old running a business? They need to learn the art of business. With any classical art form or any art form, you are learning the business of that art form. So they need to know that. They need to be taught that. And I think that is very important to teach. And then they need to have the skill sets to be a producer, they need to be a director, And like, it is happening a little bit in the contemporary and Western world that if a artistic director of, say, ballet company retires, then they are little bit open to take a contemporary artist as an artistic director. It's happening very little, but it's happening. But it's not happening with classical Indian art form. Like, would you even imagine that classical dancer would be the artistic director of very well established contemporary company? Not their own company, someone else is like, they have hired them. Like, say, suppose if I retire as an artistic director of Pagrav Dance Company, because it's a classical art form, will the board be happy to have a contemporary dancer here? Or other way around? So that is the key thing, I think. That will be a tough thing to achieve, I think. But I think just to have that presence on the main stage where you are put next to all this without doing their version of contemporary. You can still be there, but you would be doing their version of contemporary. But without doing their version of contemporary, it would be good to see that. Not just as a festival like the Darbar festival, no, not in that sense. It would be good to see that level of engagement.
So basically the issue is how contemporary dance is perceived by the main...
Yeah, and not just by the audience, but also by the funders, by the programmers.
It's by the programmers, not by the audience.
Yeah.
Yes, no.
I've got only a few more questions here. You've collaborated with numerous dancers and musicians. Is there anybody top in your list with whom you'd like to work again?
Wow. I've really enjoyed working with all of them, so I don't mind working with all of them again. All my work have always been extremely, like, a lot of time I think that we are just doing too much of fun and not creating work, but when work is created, like, we do create a nice work. So I don't have any one particular one, but of course as musically I keep on going back to Alap a lot, because I feel as if he's the most one when it comes to giving a bit of more challenge in the way I choreograph, because it's extremely full on. It's also very challenging to work with him because I feel like he's very strong personality, so he would like protest a lot of things which I say, and then we come to an agreement and all of that. So of course he's someone whom I really enjoy working with. The distance between me and him, because he lives in Mumbai and I live here, does not allow me much to do so, but yeah.
One second.
Do you encourage you've got a daughter
Yeah.
and a son, do you encourage them to follow dance?
I encourage them to do whatever they want to do. So my son started learning dance. He learned for almost a year and he stopped. My daughter is learning. But I strongly believe as a parent that kids should do what they love. I often say, even if they decide to be a cleaner, they have to be top of their game. They can be cleaner and be very happy, rather than being a doctor and being extremely miserable. So I'll be very happy with whatever they are doing, as long as they are doing it with the full conviction and they are at top of their game. Whatever they do, I don't actually mind whatever they do.
If you could go back in time, what advice and lessons learned would you have given to your younger self? That I wish I hadn't done this and I should not do this.
So I think I would have actually accepted those opportunities which was offered to me. That is one thing I do feel I should have listened to my mom at that point and take up arts. I think my life would have been a very different one if that was the one. Not that I'm actually regretting anything what I've gone through. And yeah, that's one thing I would have loved to do it, just for that experience of being in that performing group, because I came in performing group at a very later stage of my life, which would have started much earlier.
But I think the trajectory, it has been a different trajectory to
Yeah.
other professionals. But you seem to have now reached the peak of your career. Well, I see it as that, you've broken, coming to places like Saddle as well and creating all these brilliant students. So there's still a lot of contribution you can make to the
I'm not denying that, but I often, sometimes you think that what if I had taken that road instead of this road, where would I have lived? That's all I'm thinking. I'm not thinking that as I said, I'm actually at this particular time in my life, I'm in a very happy place, a very content place. So I have no as such regrets. But if you ask me that what would you have done, I would have done that. I don't know. I would have been a very nasty person at the end of it, very selfish or whatever it is, would have made me that. I don't know. No, as I said, as an advice to myself, I think that advice even I would give to myself even now, which is very difficult, is to speak less. I would really give this advice to my younger self, to speak less, because I have been misunderstood 1,000 times for speaking much more than what I am required to. So that is one advice I would give to my younger self, not even then, even my older self now, which I don't know, it's too late to kind of get into that. I say blah, 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 everything that comes to come to my mind.
Just one last question. A lot of classical dancers, I know of a lot of dancers who are very versatile in Kathak style, but they also do Bharatanatyam as well, and they've trained or they have in their career. Do you like to mix the two styles, or you are not? You just say that no, if you do Kathak, you have to do Kathak.
No, I'm not like that. I actually say to students that you should go and try everything. Go and try as much as you can, whatever you want to. It is just going to enhance your presentation. So I'm purist. Like if in my mind I'm going to go and see a Kathak performance, I would not like to see a Bhangra there. So in that way, I'm a little bit purist. But as long as that Bhangra has a context in what I'm seeing, I don't mind seeing Bhangra. That's what it is. I think for me, context plays a huge and relevance plays a huge importance in whatever you are doing. There has to be a meaning for what you are doing. There has to be a relevance of what you are doing. You cannot just do things for the sake of doing it. There has to be purpose. There has to be a purpose of what doing it. So, yeah.
Any message, any mission you have, anything what you want to say?
I'm really thankful to my parents, my teachers, my guru, my family, my husband, my kids, for supporting me so much that I've been able to achieve whatever little I have achieved in my life. Like you are saying that I have reached my peak, I don't think I have even reached halfway. I really want to do so much, but at the same time I'm in an extremely satisfying position, and I just pray that I'm always been given these blessings to be happy in whatever I get. Like we say it in Gujarati, je thai sara mate thai, and that which means whatever happens for good, and that has been my policy always, and I just hope that remains the policy forever, and that's all I can think about at the moment. And for younger generation, I just want them to keep on working hard, believe in themselves, keep on achieving different things, different way, contemporary to them, not to me. I always, like, even when I'm teaching them, I say, don't dance with my body, dance with yours. So you're copying me, yes, you have to copy me because I'm teaching you. But you can't dance with my height or my body, my size. You have to do it with yours. So own your art form and take ownership of art form and just flourish. And that's all I can wish to the younger generation.